Welcome to the PDX files. Each week we dive into the weird and the unexplained here in the Pacific Northwest and beyond. My name is Peej.
And I'm Mac.
And Mac, what are we talking about tonight?
I mean, the number of videos we have posted on our YouTube is over 100, but this is kind of really our real 100th video. I think you can look at it. If you're going to do the math, fine. We're not going to do the math, but I feel like this is a good spot for us to really address something that we haven't addressed before. It's the elephant in the room as far as a UAP, UFO type situation. That's Roswell. We
Mm.
haven't discussed it before. We discussed lots of there's plenty more things that we haven't discussed yet. But as far as like one of those I really iconic type of incidents that have happened in the stuff that we look at, this is kind of and it's a kind of a gold standard. So we're gonna dive into this a little bit. I mean, we may visit it again later, but we're gonna give it a bit of a treatment here, I think.
And before we go into the video, I would say that if you mention Roswell to just about anybody, they would
They're
make a
gonna know.
connection. They'd
Yep.
make a
100%.
connection.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
but the challenge would be like, would the Gen Zers know what we're talking about when we say Roswell?
I think they do. They don't know 100%. I mean, again, they'd have to actually do the research into it, but I still think that um, it's not as much as it was back in our day, but it's still mentioned a lot. It's referenced to Area 51. It's kind of like
Mm.
sort of synced up with that a little bit, even though it's not quite the same thing, but people know the reference. And so you kind of hear about it. And so I think, Roswell, they didn't may not even know where it is. Is it and where is Roswell? It's in New Mexico. And where it went from there, we don't really know 100%, but there's lots of contradictory evidence either way. But it still, and as it makes it really one of the worldwide um, iconic references to the UFO phenomena, I think.
I would agree. I've not seen this video, so my responses will be authentic. And here we go.
On July 8th, 1947, the U.S. Army claimed to have found a flying saucer.
I have to believe this was something from another civilization.
But within hours, they retracted the statement. More than 70 years later, the debate is still raging.
We truly are dealing with something off the planet.
It's right out of a 1950s science fiction movie.
Did the U.S. military recover extraterrestrial beings and their spaceship? If true, the U.S. government has kept one of the greatest secrets in history, that we are not alone in the universe.
It's the most important story of the millennium.
At the largest gathering of UFO witnesses ever, believers call on the U.S. government to expose the truth. What really happened at Roswell? In the summer of 1947, rancher Mac Brazel came across some unusual debris in one of his fields.
He's got a good first name.
Brazel loaded his truck with some of the material and drove 75 miles to Roswell, New Mexico.
That's not quite how it's described.
He took it to show Sheriff George Wilcox. While he was there, local radio reporter Frank Joyce called in to see if the sheriff had any good stories.
Yeah, Sheriff Wilcox, this is Frank Joyce. How's it going?
The officer passed the phone to Mac Brazel. He told the radio reporter that he might have found the remains of a flying saucer.
I thought I have a real crank here, a guy who has picked up some information about something, and he's got it all wrong. This was a hoax.
Myself, I don't believe in it.
To get rid of the likely hoaxer, Joyce told him to get in touch with the military.
Welcome back. This is Frank Joyce with KGFL, Roswell, New Mexico.
2 days later, Frank Joyce received a visitor. It was Lieutenant Walter Hote, press officer for America's only nuclear bomb squad, the 509th, stationed at Roswell.
He owed me a story. I had complained to him recently about he had given a story to somebody else and I'd been left off the list. So he brings this in. I picked it up, and as I glanced, I knew instantly it was the man on the phone.
The press release stated that the U.S. Army Air Corps had recovered a flying disc from a ranch north of Roswell. Frank Joyce drew only one conclusion.
The U.S. Army Air Corps says they have a flying saucer. It's got to be from outer space.
Joyce broadcast the extraordinary story to his local audience. It was possibly the biggest news scoop of all time.
It's still the only time in the history of the United States where the government has said, we've got a flying saucer.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
The release revealed a few other details. It stated that a local couple had seen an unusual craft in the sky on July 2nd. Major Jesse Marcel had recovered the debris, and it was now being taken to higher military headquarters. The incredible story was quickly picked up by the Associated Press and released around the world.
As soon as this story came out, all hell broke loose. New York calls, London calls. God, the world wanted to know about this.
I mean, it has a little bit of an edge of the was it the
War
of the Worlds kind of thing happening there.
Yeah.
And but the thing of it is that what they well, I didn't want to give too many things away, but what they ended up describing it as, the military after this happened, seems like so simple. Like there was no reason to like make up any stories. I guess that makes any sense. And one has to wonder, at least initially, without knowing anything about it, it's like, okay, the military is saying we've got something, right? So that's interesting. And there seems to be no reason why you would want to fake that on its outset. Just to turn it around later on. I think most people who are watching this are going to know that that's kind of how it went. But anyway,
Yeah, well, I did not know the history of Roswell, so I'm glad that we're talking about this. But am I interpreting it correctly that that was like a military leak that happened there with that when that guy brought over to the radio station guy?
no, what happened was it wasn't necessarily a leak. It's like what it looked like is that the military, and I don't know about that whole story about him owing something or whatever, is that's accurate or not, but it seems like they reacted faster than with good intentions. And telling the truth of what they actually found.
Right.
And then,
realized, oh, shoot, we should not have done that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Here's the next part of the video.
News of the recovery was important enough that FBI Chief J. Edgar Hoover asked to be kept informed. The mystery material was flown to Fort Worth, Texas for analysis. 4 hours later, Base Commander General Roger Ramey called a press conference. He told the media that contrary to earlier reports, the debris was from nothing more than a weather balloon, and certainly not a flying saucer. Major Marcel, who had collected the material, posed with the mundane-looking debris. The public quickly accepted the military's explanation.
Most people don't realize that back 60 years ago, things were a lot different than they are today. If you were told by the government that it was a pink elephant, you would accept that.
Overnight, one of the greatest headline stories became nothing but a footnote. And it may have remained just a blip on the radar if it weren't for one eyewitness whose testimony would reopen the Roswell case and shock the world.
So, tell me what happened back in 1947.
In late 1978, a UFO researcher was introduced to retired Major Jesse Marcel, the intelligence officer who'd collected debris from the original crash site.
I went down and visited him when I was in Florida. Got firsthand testimony from him, sitting closer than you and I are right now.
And it was very impressive.
They told me
Marcel declared that there had been a cover-up.
a weather balloon that had crashed up there.
He said that the weather balloon material shown to the press had been switched. What he'd found in Roswell in 1947 was not from this planet.
This foil-like material that you could fold and fold and fold again, it would unfold on its own. Memory metal. Very thin, very lightweight. You couldn't cut it. The I-beams, the weight of balsa wood, but it wouldn't burn. This stuff wouldn't cut. Had strange symbols on it.
I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a spaceship. Maybe there were aliens out there. I don't know. But I know it wasn't a weather balloon.
I had no idea you had connected. Stanton Friedman searched for more eyewitnesses.
Over the next 2 years, we found 62 people connected with Roswell.
The resulting book, The Roswell Incident, painted a very different picture from the Army's weather balloon story.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot that just happened in that last bit right there, right? But the thing that I remember from this is like Jesse Marcel, like he was at the forefront of it, and then all of a sudden he was made to sort of go and like take these photos with, like, it was obviously just some tinfoil, right? And it's like, who could mistake that on the military side and then make a even if it was a weather balloon, that didn't look like a weather balloon to me. That looked like some kid's experiment. And it's like, are we really to be expected that military guys and gals back in those days was going to mistake that for something that it was a UFO? I mean, I wouldn't. It's ridiculous.
They're not idiots.
Exactly.
So, is Marcel the first whistleblower?
I mean, kind of, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, as far as the UFO, UAP experience, kind of really is an actual whistleblower later on in life. It didn't do it right away, right?
No.
It was much later in life. And so that's the kind of thing that people have to reconcile with. It's like, okay, was it just a weather balloon? It could be, certainly. But the stuff, what does he have to gain? Like, his family didn't gain a whole lot monetarily or for any other reason. He didn't get a lot from it. And it seems like it would make sense to wait on something like, and if you would make money off of it and you could do it like at the same time. It's like, yeah, I did this, I saw some amazing thing. Maybe there's an NDA involved. I don't know what the life of that looks like, but it just seems like it's too easy to debunk. And when in fact this guy waited for years and years, and a lot of people have kind of gone almost to the deathbed without saying anything, and then sort of mention it's like it's not going to benefit anybody at that point financially. So it's an interesting, the stuff that they're describing is not just like some balsa wood and tinfoil. Let's just say that.
So the crash happened in 1947.
Yeah. Around the same time as this episode's coming out, I believe. Pretty close to it.
And the War of the Worlds radio broadcast was in 1938. So you think that, I think you said it earlier, that perhaps maybe the pullback from the government was like, well, we kind of don't want to make another War of the Worlds kind of incident here, type of thing, because it did cause mass hysteria, right?
Oh, certainly. Yeah. But I feel like the initial report is what a lot of people hold on to. And I think it has some validity. Is like the initial report was accurate. And then the government's like, oh, no, we can't tell the truth. But this is just right after World War II, where it's like all this the crisis stuff happened in Germany, the World War,
right.
All the propaganda is like, no, we got to tell the truth. And someone told the truth, and then it was brought back. It's like, no, this is going to cause too much trouble.
Interesting. All right, here's the next clip.
With why aliens noticed Earth in the 1940s. In 1945, the first atomic bomb exploded, creating a flash that could be seen from outer space.
I think they were here to scope out the activity here. You'd want to find out about the military.
Other Roswell champions think the aliens had come here to save us.
Maybe they came to help us. Roswell is less than 100 miles from where the atomic bomb was set off 2 years before the incident happened. Were they sitting out there wondering what are these clowns up to? We're going to self-destruct.
Don Schmidt has interviewed military witnesses who recalled monitoring UFOs in New Mexico in June 1947.
We had talked to one of the radar operators up at Kirtland Army Airfield up in Albuquerque at that time, and admitted to us that they had tracked a number of unknowns throughout the state, a number of days leading up to the actual incident.
On Independence Day, 1947, the rancher who found the debris, Mac Brazel, recalled there being a violent electrical storm. Between the thunderclaps, Brazel told friends he might have heard some kind of explosion. The Roswell story tells that one of the alien spaceships was struck by lightning, causing major damage. Debris from the spaceship fell onto Mac Brazel's field before crashing into the ground 35 miles away.
So when did you say you found it?
I just drove out and it was all over the place like this.
Once the story reached the Roswell Army Airfield, 2 intelligence officers were dispatched to evaluate and collect the debris. Major Jesse Marcel and Captain Sheridan Cavett filled several sacks with the material. That night, Major Marcel took some of the debris home and showed it to his 11-year-old son, Jesse Jr.
And when I walked in, I thought, well, why are you waking me up just to look at some garbage here? And he says, no, I look at this carefully because this is not anything you'll ever see again. And he says, I think this is parts of what they call flying saucers.
In the meantime, they've also learned that there's another site much closer to town, also based on civilian testimony.
A now dead witness, Jim Ragsdale, professed to have been with his girlfriend when he saw the spaceship crash 50 miles northwest of Roswell. In an affidavit, Ragsdale described how the military quickly arrived and removed both the crashed alien spaceship and its dead crew.
North of town, they are loading onto a flatbed and loading into ambulance trucks the remains of a ship and crew.
According to Ragsdale's testimony, 4 extraterrestrial bodies were found in the wreckage. The aliens were said to be small, with large heads and huge eyes.
We have talked to witnesses who are first-hand witnesses, second, third, fourth-hand witnesses. Their stories pretty well collaborate. The description of the bodies that were found.
It's probably just a way.
Radio reporter Frank Joyce remembers that Mac Brazel told him there were alien bodies at the first debris site.
The key question I asked him was, look, were there any passengers? He said, yes, there were little people. They were not human, and they were dead. In other words, he had some dead aliens out there.
Allegedly. I mean, again, it's a lot of just like he said, she said type of situations, a lot of hubris going on. You don't know for sure, but I mean, it kind of it lends itself to a lot to like major events that have happened. Like I remember 9/11, which we've talked about in not too distantly future. Is like, you know, a lot of like rumors and things like we think that this is not as happening, but there's an actual event that happened. And so this kind of reminds me like a weather balloon doesn't seem like it would cause that much hubris. It like I saw a balloon this morning. I was driving to work. It was like a hot air balloon. And for a second, it's like, oh, what the hell is that on the horizon? Oh, yeah, that's it. Hot air balloon. Like I'm not going to call into like a radio place, even if I came across the remnants of a crash of a hot air balloon. It was like, and I don't even know how it's even made or created. I'm just like, yeah, that looks like human made. You know, it looks like some shit happened. Like, oh shit, darn, this is a tragedy. You know, there's some little people in there. Maybe they're midgets. I don't know. But this seems to be a little bit more than that. And some of it's the lore, but there's a lot of the direct testimony, documented things that have happened with this over the years that you can't really deny, I guess.
Right. And, you know, and again, it's This was 1947. I get that, but again, it's already, I don't know, far enough advance in terms of technology or understanding of technology, even by then, that if it were just a simple balloon, I don't think Farmer Mac would have gone up to the sheriff,
Yeah, I mean,
with it. You know what I mean?
what's he gonna get from it? And it's not like he
Exactly.
went to the media first, right? It's like he went, "Oh, like, I found aliens." I mean, I know
Right.
that was kind of in the cultural, like, thought, a little bit, but because of Kenneth Arnold and things that have happened and of the Foo Fighters and things that have, been sort of, like, seen by real people who are serious people, right?
Correct.
It's not like a bunch of bullshit. It's like there's this shit going on. I guarantee you that guy didn't know anything about that stuff.
I think we've
He
we've
almost certainly didn't know about it.
right. We've talked about before in several other reaction videos that maybe I don't know, 9 times out of 10, maybe even like 99 times out of 100, the people weren't really necessarily looking for fame. They were just
Yeah.
like, we just need to know what the hell is happening here,
They just want some help in understanding what they just saw, and I think that
Exactly.
is kind of clearly, it's kind of what has been exhibited in this case over the last 70, 80 years, and after this is like, it's not just a bunch of bullshit. And again, I think that it was swept under the rug for a long time, and it took people to get very old in their lives to sort of like get into that. But anyway, I don't want to
All
jump
right,
again on any conclusions. Yeah.
let's get to the next part.
Well, eyewitnesses like Jim Ragsdale testified that there was a huge recovery operation.
50 to 60 troops are up at the debris field on
That's not going to happen with a weather balloon.
shoulder to shoulder,
Right.
picking up every last shard of that wreck.
Yeah, that's good.
The Roswell defenders also claim that the military ransacked media offices as part of the cover-up.
We have numerous accounts from the radio stations as well as the newspapers describing how military MPs went from office to office, confiscating, ransacking desks and file cabinets.
UFO promoters
That's a lot of work in
a
those
number
days.
of witnesses, like rancher Mac Brazel, were threatened to keep the story quiet.
And when he's finally allowed to return home, he's sworn to secrecy. He was, by all accounts, a broken man. It's quite clear that the government resorted to very extreme measures. And
He never got any
he was quiet.
advantage out of this.
The Roswell legend only came to life in the late 1970s, 30 years after the fact. But strangely, it follows almost the exact same storyline as a 1950s UFO hoax. Coincidence or not?
Sorry about the choppy end there.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, yeah, there could be some coincidence there, but I mean, I think there's enough like evidence to suggest before this that maybe that was this more later version of it was based on the 47 incident, and usually it's kind of a psych op, if that makes any sense, or trying to sensationalize it because they knew that it might come out at some point. And also, I don't know about that 1952 situation. I never heard of that before, the Denver one. But the fact that again that the people involved in this, they didn't make money. They didn't write books until much later on, if they did at all. Um, it leads more credence to it. Again, it could be very prosaic. It could be some sort of like crazy stuff that the government was creating. It just seems unlikely that it would be that confused. Like we would have had that kind of technology back in the days. The memory metal type of situation. It feels like that's not likely to have been around there. I think there's any evidence to show that. And if there was that they would have been using it to make a lot of money, I think, at some point, but who knows?
Right, and like recruiting and training midgets to fly, secret government spacecraft.
look like grays and get up in like a weather balloon. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's like the balloon boy in the 90s, I guess, maybe. But
Talk
yeah,
about a hoax. All right, here's the next clip.
On to make a statement that is devastating to the Roswell case. McCoy said, and I quote, "I can't even tell you how much we would give to have one of those crash in an area so that we could recover whatever they are."
If the alien story of Roswell were true, such a recovery would have generated a huge military paper trail.
Then maybe.
But no compelling evidence has ever emerged to support the UFO claims. Their only evidence comes from the many witness accounts.
This long list of witnesses is very curious because they didn't come out of the closet, so to speak, until the 1980s when Roswell became the Roswell incident, the mecca of ufology. And that tells us more about modern myth-making than it does about eyewitness accounts.
Dennis Balthasar acknowledges the Roswell story is littered with unreliable witnesses.
Some witnesses decided to elaborate on their stories. Some have outright lied. Some weren't involved at all, but have given the impression that they were.
The false testimony and many hoaxes in the Roswell legend are reminiscent of the 1950 novel Behind the Flying Saucers.
I mean, I think it's an interesting kind of point. It's like, there are people who were trying to benefit off of it, right? But they were proven not to be there, or proven to be bad witnesses. What still remains is the principal, the people who were there have not been discredited at all. And so this is all a bunch of noise and seems to me like a disinformation type of campaign to me, because Jesse Marcel and Brazell and all those folks, again, the people who were like actually credible, you can't really deny any of that stuff, and yet they throw all this other stuff at the wall to try to make a bunch of noise to try to discredit it. That leads me to believe that there's more to it than not, and it's a clear campaign to discredit those other folks and just sort of cover it up. And nothing happened here. These people are crazy.
Yeah. And again, so much ado over a weather balloon.
Exactly. Exactly. Like it wasn't that great. I mean, we saw the Chinese throw the weather balloon over us not that many years ago. And we knew what it was when we saw it. It had nothing to do with aliens, and we knew it. So it's weird that they went through all this trouble to sort of make this big deal out of it. And even it was like at the time, it was a weather balloon. It could go and it's amazing. I mean, don't you think that other, like the Russians have thought of this kind of stuff? Which, and like anybody who is an adversary at that point, it's like, just put a weather balloon to be a spy kind of situation seems like a good idea. Come on. It's too much cover up and too much disinformation and whatever, just to sort of believe that it was just that. It could have been something else. Again, it could have been a government vehicle, a government aircraft that they're trying to portray as a weather balloon to do that could be possible too.
True.
But it just seems to me like, again, the reports of bodies and the extent of the cover up even to this day, like just a minute, it's like, we did something back then, we're sorry about it. It wasn't really anything. It was that. But the story still is to this day. It was a fucking weather balloon. Why is that still the story to this day? If it was so simple, it just doesn't make any sense.
It does not. All right, here's the next part.
Then, in the early 90s, two UFO researchers, Carl Flock and Robert Todd, unearthed a top-secret mission that had long been forgotten. It offered a much simpler and earthly solution to the Roswell mystery.
Sure it did.
Back in 1945, America exploded the first atomic bomb. It was only a matter of time until the Soviets would develop their own nuclear program. In 1947, testing began on an American secret spying program called Project Mogul. a highly classified mission, was set up to listen for any Soviet atomic testing.
Mogul was so classified, we didn't know what the classification was.
In fact, Mogul was classified as 1A, the same as the H-bomb program. Project Mogul would use some 50 large rubber balloons to carry listening devices, called transponders, into the higher atmosphere. Up here, sound moved much quicker, and a nuclear explosion could, in theory, be detected, even on the other side of the world.
Okay.
I know it worked because I saw a beautiful signal come in one day from the Pacific, and it was an American nuclear bomb explosion, and I was tracking it right here in New Mexico.
In 1947, B.D. Gildenberg was a young engineering undergraduate at New York University when the military commissioned his department to work on Project Mogul. The Mogul team started to gather the materials needed for the project. One item that they farmed out to a Brooklyn toy manufacturer was the kite-like radar reflectors called Raywin targets. These would be used to track the balloon's movements, and the team needed hundreds of them. They were essentially six-pronged kites with a balsa wood frame, covered with silver foil, and backed with strong white material. In June 1947, the NYU team traveled with all their equipment to White Sands Testing Range in New Mexico. From this remote desert location, they began experimental launches of their new top-secret mission.
This was the first time that constant level balloons were used in the United States, which we were still learning about and still experimenting with.
On June 4th, test flight number 4 was launched in mid-afternoon. But due to cloud cover, the Mogul team soon lost it on both radar and spotter plane as it drifted northeast towards Roswell. The free-trailing device was some 600 feet long, twice the height of the Statue of Liberty. With up to 50 large balloons, 9 shiny Raywin targets, ballast controls, and transponders, it would have looked very different from a weather balloon. Eventually, the neoprene rubber balloons disintegrated, showering the desert below. Although the mission was top secret, the equipment itself was of little value, and the Mogul team deemed its recovery low priority. Rozelle's description of the debris, rubber, silver foil, and balsa wood, and lots of it, matches Project Mogul perfectly.
Yeah.
The photographs of the debris seem to match. Project Mogul appears to be the perfect solution, but there's one piece to the puzzle that doesn't add up.
So. Yeah, I think that's a total...
Jesse Marcel Jr. believes that the hieroglyphs he saw on the Roswell debris were not from this Earth.
The I-beams were apart from everything. This was something from another civilization.
He had a point. There seemed to be no reason why Project Mogul would have strange hieroglyphic symbols on any part of it. But closer inspection of the design drawing for the radar reflectors offers a vital clue. The paper-backed foil needed to be secured to the balsa frame with both glue and Scotch tape. The toy company in Brooklyn, commissioned to make the Raywin targets, used what it had at hand. That included kid Scotch tape with flowered patterns set in a purple dye.
Come on.
After a few days in the desert sun, the Scotch tape would have peeled off and blown into the desert. In such heat, the purple dye would have imprinted the wood, leaving behind flowered patterns on the balsa wood frame.
Some of the tape had these inscriptions from the Brooklyn toy department on it. And that's where the hieroglyphics came from. And it was really nothing very exotic.
Project Mogul is accepted among most scientists as the rational answer to the Roswell mystery.
Yeah, I mean, it's too easy and too simple. And I Occam's razor is a good way to look at things a lot of the times, and maybe
Mhm.
that applies here too. But it just seems like there's too many easy, like manufactured explanations for this. And if it was that easy, then why was there a military report of that? That there was no reason for that at all. It doesn't make any sense to go through that extent. I mean, it's like, oh, we have balloons up in the air to monitor the nuclear. Yeah, okay. I'm sure it was top secret, but why establish something like that to explain this situation? Seems like way over the top. And it could be someone's like, well, let's use UFOs as a reason why it's happening because people are going to believe that, and it's not really what we're. It seems like too much, too easy, and not believable. It doesn't explain everything.
It
But
doesn't
I I,
explain
I
anything.
appreciate that they're putting out the skeptic side because I'm usually like, yeah, I'm very skeptical of all this kind of stuff. It's just there's just too many holes in the argument, at least from my opinion.
Too many holes in the argument, and it seems like it's also kind of one of those damage control methods that went, kind of out of control, right?
Exactly. I mean, like the swamp gas. I mean, that was the whole thing. It's like, oh, it was, and it was by J. Allen Hynek, who was actually the Project Blue Book, who actually ended up leaving Blue Book and started discrediting Blue Book, and saying, yeah, we were kind of forced into that because we felt we had to like provide some prosaic explanation for everything that happened, but we couldn't. And so, this just doesn't seem like it passes the smell test. It never has. And they talk to the rancher Brazil to say, hey, you better say this shit, or
Right.
you're going to be in some serious shit. He's like, yeah, oh yeah, it was rubber and tinfoil, and Jesse Marcel even admitted later, was like, yeah, I was kind of forced into doing this photo shoot where I'm saying that this was like, it was like definitely just like balsa wood on a weather balloon. Like, that's bullshit to me.
Yeah.
It seems
It,
like government bullshit.
yeah, it's a um unsatisfactory implementation of a nothing to see here, folks, approach.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, here's the next part.
The balloons and payloads were ever more bizarre. B.D. Gildenberg believes that these balloons were what many people were mistaking for alien crafts.
I remember the CIA being at some of our launches, and they were the ones who were pushing this. Said, yeah, let these remain UFO reports as a cover-up for all these secret programs that were...
I think some of that's true. I think some of that's probably true. 100%. It's like some of the truth actually did happen, but they're like, you know what? We got you. Let's just blame it on that because no one's going to really believe it anyway. Let's just make it unbelievable.
Right.
And they have done that over the years.
All right, here's the next part. Actually, here's the last part.
Later, this is what we know for sure. Mac Brazel did discover debris in his field, and just as he reported, it wasn't a weather balloon. The government did cover up the truth. Project Mogul was a Category 1A top secret spy mission, crucial to national security. It did cause a moment of excitement because no one outside of Project Mogul had seen that configuration of a balloon device before. The local army probably did overreact, as they had no idea how sensitive the project or the material was. Wright-Patterson Airfield still remains a top-secret military base, responsible for examining strange craft, but of foreign planes, not of ET. UFO believers have already dismissed Project Mogul as bogus. Today, public trust in government is at an all-time low. Only 20% of Americans have confidence in the U.S. government to do what is right. Some remain convinced that somewhere under lock and key is a secret X-file that outlines an incredible story.
I don't think there is a file that they're ever going to find for any of it. And that's the whole thing that's kind of a joke. It's like, oh, we're going to find evidence. You're not. It happened. The witnesses saw what they saw. They're not a bunch of fucking retards. They understand what it is that they saw. Why would you make up bodies? Why would you make up all this other stuff? Jesse Marcel, very respected. There's no reason for him to ruin his career at that point in life. He didn't make any money off of it. There's other corroborating evidence and witnesses to sort of suggest this wasn't normal. This is a classic type of like, as you said, like nothing to see here, but it didn't happen. What your eyes see didn't actually happen, and that's fine. I just think that people need to either believe it or not, that's fine. But I believe that this was definitely a cover up. Something did happen. Could it be that it was just it wasn't definitely not a weather balloon? That's complete nonsense. Project Mogul. Fuck that shit. Was it some sort of a craft that the government was trying to work with to try to create something to battle the Russians? Definitely. Was it staffed and by a bunch of midgets with big eyes? I mean, maybe. It seems unlikely that there's so much of this stuff that has happened over the years that we've seen with our own eyes, even today, with the evidence that we've seen. And they still continue, even though they put out evidence. We have these things. They just let up. All it does is just because it's so grainy. Because they actually could show us the actual footage, but they refuse. They keep showing us like the IR footage of things and things that it purposely looks like we don't have 4,000K, wherever the hell is it video. We can see all this shit, but they won't show us that evidence. They show us the stuff that's not
grainy.
that, right? Because they know that you definitely have it. And they have other evidence behind it. They just won't show it to us.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, will we ever understand what truly happened in Roswell?
Shit, I'm gonna have to say probably not, because I think a lot of the evidence has probably been so far destroyed that it's only there might be files, but we're never going to see them. So two that we're ever going to really understand it. But I think to me it's like an 8 or 9 that actually something did happen there that was of significance beyond weather balloons.
Well, listeners and viewers, let us know what you think in the comments below. Give it a rating in terms of whether we're going to be able to get to the bottom of the Roswell mystery. And if you enjoy this content, please give it a like and share it across your socials to help get the word out about our show. If you hadn't already done so, please subscribe. And on YouTube, hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on future episodes. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.